The road that my apartment complex is on is not normal. Being a night owl, I've seen things I likely wouldn't have seen living anywhere else. This happened a few years ago, before the bus came out to where I live and I had to take a 1 hour walk home from work through the dark every night. I was walking down this road listening to music when a man came running past me from up ahead. This was not exactly unusual considering the occasional jogger even so late into the night. I would have thought nothing of it if not for his expression of panic. About halfway down this road, in the light provided by the traffic heading into town as it passed me by, I saw something that caught me off guard. There was a man walking on the other side of the road, or rather, the silhouette of a man. As the first car got closer, I realized that his features weren't showing in the light. I could see in his outline that he had short hair and wore a jacket, but he himself seemed to not actually be. It appeared to be a humanoid patch of empty space that was even void of light and somehow separate from the space around it. It was like perceiving the lack of existence in a person who was supposed to be but never was. As the few cars passed by, this flat, dimensionless figure kept walking until the last car got closer. Just as the car with the last bit of light I would have for the moment passed us by, it stopped and turned its head towards me. My heart dropped into my gut. The sight terrified me in a way I still can't understand. I had to stop walking and give myself a moment to calm down. By the time my eyes adjusted to the dark well enough to see, I could see that there was nothing but tall grass on the other side of the road. No person looking back at me and no bizarre shadow. I decided to just call this a reminder that I needed to get a new pair of glasses and that maybe Death Clock isn't the best thing to listen to when alone on that empty road in the dark. I put on something softer and started walking a little faster. I wanted to be out of the dark as soon as possible. It wasn't long before I heard what sounded like distant screaming behind me, took off my headphones and looked back toward the city. From that distance, it looked as though I were looking through a tunnel of darkness. The wind blew lightly, swaying the grass and the trees that reached out overhead. I walked for a moment without music and heard nothing else, so I scolded myself for even considering it odd. I was so close to home now that I figured I simply don't need to worry about it. I put my headphones back on, and before even taking my second step, I heard fast, heavy footsteps charging behind me. This time I completely freaked out. I spun around and saw nothing. I jerked my headphones down to my neck and fumbled around my phone until I got my flashlight app open. I stood there in the dark, aiming my light from one direction to another, preparing to fight whoever may have been out there messing with my head. It was when I stopped moving the light so frantically and focused for a moment directly behind me, back toward the city, when I noticed it. It was about my height and barely noticeable in the weak light that I had available. It was the faintest impression of a man standing back, just watching me from a short distance. I disregarded all those notions of rationality and ran. Even when I heard the footsteps right behind me and saw the beam of light from my phone illuminating movement at the edges of my vision, I didn't slow my pace. I reached my apartment complex gate out of breath and genuinely terrified. Luckily, I never had to take that road at night on foot again. I doubt I'd ever come back from revisiting whatever left that smeared, smudgy black handprint on the back of my shirt.